Liverpool, famous for numerous reasons, going back to the days of the British Empire, and of course the Beatles, and for having some rather famous football connections too, but more on that later. Liverpool was much maligned in the 1980s due to the ongoing problems at the city council and the militant tendency and a real decline within the city. But visit it these days and you'll see a very different city. We visited at the end of the summer and it was bustling. It had a real life and a vibrancy and a sense of place. It's very much a city that's proud of what it was and what it is, and that is to be admired. There are the beautiful parts of the city that have been done up and very much hark back to its history, and also the football links. And in many ways, that's why we were there. You can see where we were visiting the oldest club, the club with an enormous amount of history, Everton. We made a visit there and had a tour of the stadium and really indulged in our own football obsession. There are, of course, tours to be done of Anfield, if that happens to be your footballing colour. But we are of the blue persuasion and we thoroughly enjoyed our tour and being immersed in the history of Everton Football Club, the original team on Merseyside, and a club that has a lot to celebrate about its past, perhaps more so because of its past given recent form. But we thoroughly enjoyed our tour and also the opportunity to go to a game, which is what we did later on in the evening. It's always nice and sadly rare to see a win at Goodison Park. I've been to Liverpool before, always for footballing reasons. I've been about a dozen times, and on each occasion it's involved a visit to Goodison Park, but very rarely have I had the chance to look around and see a little bit more of the city. We did the ferry tour. Of course, we actually did get a good look at the new football ground being built, which is going to be beautiful. We did the classic ferry across the Mersey. We, of course, did Albert Dock and looked around at some of the history in that area. And while we were there, we also visited the Beatles experience, which actually had a lot to go for it, which appealed to everybody. My children, who know very little about the Beatles, found it incredibly enjoyable, and they've listened to some Beatles music since. The recreation of the Cavern Club was particularly good. And if you want, you can even have one of the Beatles put into your coffee. I went for Paul. It's not just about the Beatles in Liverpool. It is a bustling city. It's a thriving city. There is so much redevelopment going on. There's some lovely pubs, restaurants, which we ate out at, a shopping centre that has everything you could possibly want to see. Down by the Mersey, there are the locks with messages on, which we enjoyed reading and looking at and working out how old they were. So, what would I say? I would definitely say visit Liverpool. It's a city with a lot going for it. I'm aware that Liverpool has a reputation, but we were staying about 1.5 miles away from Goodison Park, not in the centre of town, but in West Derby, which itself has something of a reputation. But we walked back from the game in the evening. We had no problem. And at all times in Liverpool, I have to say, we felt absolutely safe. Of course, you need to be aware of what areas can be dodgy and dangerous in any city or town. Just don't look for trouble. You won't find it. If you haven't been to Liverpool, I would definitely recommend going. It has a lot of history, a lot to interest you about its past, but it's a city that's going places and it's improving all the time, and it's a great history ahead of it.